This is Donna with More Than Review, and we are continuing our conversation with Monette, and she's going to share a little bit about herself and her books, and then she's agreed to answer some questions, and one of them is, what would we be surprised to know about her? So Monette, just tell them a little bit about yourself and your books if they happen to be new to your writing.
Okay, well, I did start out in life as an attorney, and I found that righting wrongs is very hard in the legal system some days, so I decided to write. Well, actually, this is very cute. I'm sitting there getting a manicure, and I've known my manicure since she was 16 years old. Okay, and I said, you know, Robin, I've got this idea for a book, and I start telling her about it, and then the next week I kind of embellished it a little, and she finally just went like this. She says, just write the damn book. So what I did is I wrote a chapter a week, and every week when I went in to get a manicure, I would read the chapter to her.
Oh my goodness.
And she was giving me positive feedback, and then one week I didn't bring a chapter, and I had left the heroine in the hospital unconscious. And she finally, and then the next week I didn't do it again, and she says, where in the hell is the next chapter? And I said, well, I haven't had time to write it. I can tell you what happened. No, you have to write it. And I would not have finished that first book without Robin DeTrude, my manicurist, who I love dearly and call her my muse, because of her I've been writing since 1995.
Wow,
yes.
How exciting.
And I basically write 2 series. I've got a lot of other books because I do have another author named Ray Morgan that I have paranormal suspense in, but I don't write in that name anymore. I just write under Monette Michaels. I do have a little bit of paranormal in Monette Michaels, the Good in the Night Mysteries. But my 2 main series are Security Specialists International. I would call them romantic thrillers. They feature a private security firm that does connect rescue, anti-terrorism for small governments, and security on buildings, and bodyguarding. Okay, and I also write another series, Prime Chronicles, which is a science fiction romance series set in the wide galaxy of the Milky Way.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I know here at the reader conference you shared a little bit about how to plot the perfect murder. So just give us a couple tips on how would we do that.
Okay, well, to me the perfect murder is to plot a murder mystery. You need to be a little more organized than just, you can't be a seat of the pantser on a murder mystery. You basically have to have the death, and you have to, there's 2 ways to do it. You can either have the death right off, and then you can spend the rest of the whole book, you know, trying to figure out who did it. Or you can introduce all the suspects and the victim and then have the murder. It depends on whether you're an Agatha Christie or a Columbo. Okay, in the Columbo TV murder mysteries, you knew who did it up front, and then of course Columbo comes bumbling in his bumbling way, and he's not really bumbling, he does that on purpose, and he interviews everybody who knew the victim or was around the victim, and then figures out pretty early on who did it, because psychologically he's a good observer and he knows a lot. Plus, that's how they plot them. Agatha Christie always is like Hercule Poirot or Miss Marple. They're in their milieu, they're observing people, they know something's up, then somebody dies, just as they suspected somebody would. They have a pretty good idea usually who did it, but they go and get all the information and then do the big reveal. Okay. Hercule's okay because he's a private detective, so the police will work with him. Miss Marple, of course, everybody poo-poos because she's just a little old white-haired lady that should be knitting, and what does she know? Well, she's sharper than everybody else, including the police officers in her village. So basically you have to have the inciting incident, which is the murder. This is what takes the protagonist into the rest of the book. In the middle, you need to give them fair clues, because if you get to the end and the reader goes, well, you didn't tell us enough for us to figure this out, like what we did here at the conference. We gave more clues than you needed, but the clues that you absolutely needed to solve the mystery were there. Okay, and happily I can say we had quite a few people who figured it out. So we did play fair with them. So in a murder mystery, you need to play fair. It's okay to have twists, it's okay to have lies, because all witnesses lie, okay? And it is fair to have the actual murderer lie, because they're going to lie. But when you get to the end, you have to be fair with them. And the middle is mostly that, is the investigatory process, and maybe the collaborative process with the police or other amateur sleuths or other private detectives or persons of interest who want justice. Okay. And then there's usually a twist right before the end. Something else happens, maybe another death, a misdirection, or something like that. And then the hero or the heroine has to step back and go, well, did I get it all wrong? And then you have the great reveal. And the one thing with all murder mysteries is justice. That is usually what pushes the hero or heroine forward, whether they're a police officer, a private detective, or an amateur sleuth. Okay, so it's fairly easy. It's the thing is you have to think ahead. You can't just sit there by the seat of your pants and start writing, you know, a dark and stormy night. No, no. You've got to think about the setting. Does the setting take place? You have to look at what are all the goals and motivations and conflicts that each person has, and how they intersect with the victim and all the persons of interest. And don't be too clever, but it's always nice to be a little bit clever. And I like romantic mysteries, so I always like to enter a little romance. Okay, so I kind of like the mysteries where, Eve and Rourke in the J.D. Robb Death series. You know, I really like the fact, and it's very cool to go back and see how she introduced that romance and how it builds each book. But hers are police procedurals, so she's almost always going by the book. However, once she meets Rourke, she knows how to smudge the line a little more. So
I love that, the Agatha Christie versus Columbo. I've never really thought about it like that. I like that.
There are a lot of ones where the death occurs right away, and they occur right usually. Well, I think most of the Eve Dallas books, they occur right away too, and that's mostly it sets up police procedurals better. Okay, private detective ones usually not right away, because sometimes it's the private detective's client that gets killed, or they end up being a suspect. Okay. So, but amateur sleuths, almost always in amateur sleuth mysteries, you will have maybe 3 to 4 chapters of a setup and then the murder. And then the amateur sleuth is going, well, this is wrong. My world is out of balance. You know, it's the gardener or the cook or, you know, the home repair person, and they know something wrong, but they know their community. They know that murder in a community is upsetting to everybody, and they want justice, and they don't think the police are taking it seriously enough. Or maybe somebody looks like it's a suicide, but they know that person never would have committed suicide, and so they have to seek the justice. So you got to give them enough motivation that they have to do it because the police aren't doing it.
Well, and I love that, because I think the justice is that happily ever after that we look for in a romance, where they actually get together. Like, you have to, in the end, the murderer must pay. No, I agree. What is something that readers would be surprised to know about you?
Okay. I was one of those nerds in school who wanted to be a scientist, and I wanted to be an oceanographer. I live in landlocked Indiana. I'm from Fort Wayne originally. I now live in the Indianapolis area. I don't think I even saw the ocean until after I got married. But for some reason, during the 60s, when everybody else was going into outer space, I was impressed with Sea Lab, which is where they lived under the water in the Caribbean. I actually think Scott Carpenter, the astronaut, was one of the first Sea Lab oceanauts. And so I did a proposal to the National Science Foundation for a grant to spend my summer between my junior and senior year at Scrimp's Institution of Oceanography, and I was accepted. I didn't get to go. However, that did not stop me. I applied to Harvard, and I was accepted, and I didn't get to go. Because Harvard had an agreement at that time with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. So I ended up going to Purdue, and I started out in chemistry. Then I met my husband, husband to be, and we had both tested out of some classes, and we were in a couple of advanced classes together that we were the only freshmen in, and actually it was German 5 mornings a week, conversational, and we only needed 5 credits for our degree. And then I was in engineering calculus with him. I thought, that is the guy I'm going to marry.
Aww.
And I've been married to him now for 46 years, and we've been together 48.
Oh, wow.
And when we went into organic chemistry together, I realized how stupid I really was. And so, you know, he's the one who always broke the curve. So I switched my major to English, but I also kept a math major. So I am an English and math major from Purdue, and I put my husband through med school, and then I went to law school.
Oh my.
So that's me.
That's awesome.
But I'm still, so I work with both sides of my brain.
Yes, I was thinking English and math. Not a lot
Yeah.
of people can
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just ask one more question. What do you want readers to get out of your books when they read them?
Escapism. I think when you were talking earlier with Kaylin, I read for escapism.
Me too.
When I was in law school, reading all those big, thick books and, you know, outlining them for class, briefing them for class. My spare time was romantic suspense and romance novels. So that's what I write for. Is I write the novels I'd like to read. Okay. Back when I started writing some of the stuff that I wrote, there weren't a lot of people writing it. Romantic suspense was just not really popular back when I started.
Yeah.
And then when I had the paranormal, the New York agent that I interviewed with told me, oh, we can't sell that.
Oh wow.
And then of course they can,
Yeah.
but they just
Yeah.
didn't at the time.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of went indie. It's because I wanted to write the books I wanted to write, and
Yeah.
not the books the marketing department told me to write.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been indie, and I've been an independent author, published since 1998.
Oh, so you were way before I wouldn't say it's a fad, but the curve of going to indie publishing.
I was with one of the first e-publishing companies that no longer exists. I was before Stephen King's Writing the Bullet.
Wow.
My books were formatted for Palm Pilots and Rocket eBooks.
Wow.
And then the thing that really took us off is Amazon. When
Yeah.
Kindle came out, that's what made it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
And I've been with my one e-publisher who has my backlist, because I'm doing indie now, but I've been with Liquid Silver Publishing since summer of 2000.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And I was with a Canadian indie that did print and e for about 5 years, until she decided she wanted to go back to school, so she closed the company. But I love her. I still love her. I wish she never closed the company, because I loved her, but whatever. But she's happy, so I'm
That's
happy.
great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have met you guys, and the Danger Zone was definitely the place to be. The very first day, they had the longest line of any of the boardrooms, so I definitely wanted to appreciate them. And I think for us readers too, we sometimes, I think, take for granted all the work that goes on that you guys do just to get ready for the boardrooms and just to get ready for the conferences. So we do want to thank you for that too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.